welcome to Detroit in Black and White, Friday's edition. Vanessa Moss, attorney Black and White.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody.
You know, we got that little echo. Okay.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Detroit in Black and White. If you are watching, we want you to hit that like, subscribe button. You can catch us on all social media platforms. Join us in the chat. Make your comments. Thank you so much.
Okay, Eric Brown, how you doing?
I'm right. Got an early to bed tonight since I got bed. The track meet at 7:30. It don't start till 9. Tomorrow, I'm a coach, so tomorrow is the charter school championship.
Okay, well, Edison probably got the best sports program, don't they?
No, they're on the east side. We west side.
Okay.
But Edison or is that DEPSA Edison?
Yeah. I don't know. You know. Anyway, Eric, why don't you announce what's happening in the future?
In the future, we will have. You talking about starting tomorrow or in the future for the candidate forum?
Your show.
Oh, actually, my show. My bad. So it'll be Detroit in Black and White presents Reality Strikes with Eric Brown, with a date to be determined, which will be in the near future.
Okay, Eric gonna start, and all those people that like Eric, that comes to this platform all the time, you're gonna be able to catch Eric, and he can mute himself when he gets tired of hearing his own voice. Jim?
Exciting news from Eric Brown. Exciting news tomorrow. We have Ira Todd, Detroit police legend, and we have 7 Mile Radio, and we have somebody else tomorrow. I'm excited about tomorrow's show.
I want to miss tomorrow's show. Yeah.
Say hello to Joe Cool, Edward, Score 13, and Day. And I'll tell you this, you know, we get used to the people that we communicate with, our colleagues out there, and when you're not here, we miss you and we look for you. So if somebody misses 2 or 3 shows, Queen Bee missed a couple of shows, we start looking for you. We start wondering where you're at. So stay with us because we need you.
Ain't no question about it. Well, as I said on Wednesday, that by Friday we was going to have a pope. I thought we was going to get one quickly, but I was surprised because all the commentators and the people that pope watching saying, well, you know, Americans don't have a shot. At one time, they wouldn't pick an American because they said they didn't want the superpower to be in control of the Vatican, and when they used to, back in the day when they used to pick a pope, it took the Americans and anybody else from South America, Latin America, to get to Rome. They elected a pope. So now we got American pope. Everybody's excited, I guess. That's Catholic and non-Catholic. I'll go to you first, Jim. Is it a big deal?
I think it's a big deal. Hello to Day, our friend Day, and our good old friend Karen Winston. Thanks for tuning in tonight. I think it's a big deal. What I really struggle with, I think it's a huge deal. But comparing, we want to compare the Pope and his rise to his position with American politics. And I see this. We have to remove it. I read an editorial today by I'll call him a gentleman. I'm looking for his name right now. Rex Hupke. I guess he writes for USA Today. He's written for the Chicago paper and the Seattle paper. But he basically said, you know, MAGA is upset about this new pope. Now, I still, you know, we've been talking about it forever. I still don't know what MAGA is. I know we have an idea. It's kind of like anything else out there. But I'm going to tell you, I don't care if you're a Republican in the United States or you're a Democrat, this pope's probably not going to agree with a lot of the people in this country, right? Whether it's abortion, whether it's human rights, whatever it is. The church is different typically than the American people. And I think we need to separate it instead of trying to tie everything into Donald and Joe Biden and whoever else we try and tie this into. It's a great day for this country. It's a great day for the Catholic Church, and we want to tie it into our politics, and I just don't really get it.
Vanessa, is that a big deal? We got American Pope?
I think it is a big deal. It's historical. I think it is a big deal. As I said the other day, I'm not Catholic. I went to Catholic school. And I do think, contrary to what Jim says, in fact, religion and politics do cross paths. And although we say there's separation of church and state, in reality, there is no separation.
It's funny, if this happened, if American was elected Pope during the time that John Kennedy got elected president, it really would have been something, because it was a big deal for him getting elected as a Catholic. The barriers he had to jump through, knock down. Yeah. I find it. I find it kind of some of these people hypocrites who hate Catholics, but yet they want to have a say in who become the Pope. Eric, big deal?
Not really, but I have my issues with the Catholic Church and that religion, so it's no big deal for me.
Okay. Well, at one time, not a large number of African Americans are Catholic, but they sent their kids to Catholic schools, especially in the city of Detroit. At one time, used to have about 4 or 5 predominantly African American Catholic schools. Well, they've been closing up the schools anyway. Getting out of the education business, and you can see all the folks that they have lost all religious people. But it seems that the fastest growing religion around the world is the Catholic Church in the Philippines and Africa, in Latin and South America. I think that Pope Leo the 14th, he's more Latin American than he is American. He has spent 20, 30 years in Peru. He has spent, I don't know how much time he has spent in Rome. So he has spent more time away from the U.S. than he has being. And I'm amazed at his sudden rise. 2 years ago, he was just made a cardinal.
Right.
And here he is. He's the Pope. The guy must have been, he was playing the politics, and he was sitting right there at the door. And I think Francis, that was his handpicked successor.
He's what, 69, the new guy?
Too easy. Yeah, it was just too easy for this guy to come out of nowhere. I don't think he came out of nowhere. I think the Cardinals there, they knew who he was. He had some power. And he had some juice, and he was nobody saw this coming except those who were sitting in that room saying, "We got our Pope," and so yeah, it's a big deal.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
So Deborah Harris said the world is watching to see if the Pope is the false prophet.
Well, the
enable the Antichrist, and I think I'm guessing she's talking about the guy with the guy sitting at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. If I'm wrong, let me know, Deborah. But so I guess this is where I'm going with this. How much? And Vanessa said that politics and religion are intertwined, but how much influence does the selection of this Pope have over this country at all, or vice versa?
Well, I think that, the Vatican is it's the smallest country around. and I've been over that way. One of the most powerful. There's no question that it has survived. It's been invaded. It's been it went through all kind of turmoil. You know, you had at one time you had 2 popes, 3 popes, people claiming to be pope. I was waiting on somebody to come and say, you know, the election was unfair because they went through that before with folks saying, I'm the pope, that's the pope, he's anti-pope. Yeah. So I think that the pope has some juice. He has some juice. John Paul II had some juice. So this guy has some juice. And Francis, I don't know. But the Cardinals, they got all the juice. And they pushed Benedict out. He didn't die. They pushed him out, told him he had to step down. He was leading a criminal empire. They under his watch, they was doing all kind of stuff, taking money, etc. So I think they got somebody that know the books, that know where all the bodies are buried at, and probably they saying he can talk the talk over here. You know, somebody whose first language is English, and then he was speaking in Italian, probably know about 4 or 5 different languages. So
yeah, he speaks 4 different languages.
And one of them he didn't speak on the first day, and his first was English. He spoke Italian, and he spoke Spanish, and he spoke Italian, or Italian, Spanish.
And he probably speak Latin too.
And Latin maybe, but not English.
Yeah. So yeah. Well, you know, we'll be hearing more about the new pope in the upcoming days. Yeah.
Can I read a comment, Adolph? Can I read a comment?
Go ahead.
So Chip Tracy, a fan of Vanessa, because he or she only said hello to Vanessa. But anyway, I'm the male or female. These forums for mayoral candidates suck. We need you all to host one, or we are all toast.
Well,
so did you give them the news, Adolph?
Well, you got one. Go ahead.
So, well, the date to be determined, but Detroit in Black and White will be hosting the mayoral forum on either the 19th or either the 12th or the 19th of July, in collaboration with 100 Black Men of Greater Detroit and the Umoja debate team. And that will take place again on July 12th or July 19th, waiting on the confirmation date.
Okay.
So, you know what, Eric, I'm going to make a comment about the mayoral race, the forums or whatever. I think it's very interesting. It's 2 things. One, there was a poll, Adolph's guy, Sarpolis, came out with a poll. It's in Deadline Detroit. And they have Councilwoman Mary Sheffield as the front runner, and Reverend Pastor Kinlock second. He sprinted from
5% to 25%.
Yeah, 5% to 25%. And we also have this other thing where they have these forums. This is what I want to say to those people that watch Detroit in Black and White, and they need to carry this message to everybody else. One of the things that Adolph always says, and that it has resonated with me because it's very true. You have to remember, people, that polls don't vote. You vote. And you should not allow the media, a poll, or anything else to determine who you want as your next mayor. Period.
And no question.
This is, I mean, it is very important that you do not allow, because listen, you could be inundated, the powers that be, make sure, listen, we're going to do this poll, tell these people this, and you know what, people will start believing what they see and not do their work, not do the homework. Listen, Make your own decisions. Don't depend on the polls. Don't depend on the media. I think it's interesting. There was a forum yesterday, I understand. And the media only covered a couple of people, but I heard that Mr. Barlow set it off yesterday. He had people standing up and everything else. I just think it's very interesting that the media and these polls will craft and basically play with you and tell you who you should vote for or who our next leader is. That's not cool. That's not right. Make your own decision, because guess what? If you don't make your own decision, you will live to regret it. You'll be there complaining about who is in charge.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I talked to Ed Sarpolis, and he said this poll, and now he the one did the poll.
Right.
It's anybody's race. It's anybody's race.
Keep telling people that. Eric believes that. You believe it.
It's anybody's race. This is a 200-yard dash. They're walking it. And the last 10 yards, somebody's going to attempt to run. At this point, you're looking at the numbers, and you can't. If the chief had any organization or put any of his money in there, he'd probably be one or two. Folks that got all the endorsements and stuff haven't moved a bit and dropped. It seemed like nobody want to engage. And at this point, we got a couple months left, and the way it's going, I don't believe the numbers.
I don't believe it. Quite frankly, I think it's very disrespectful to the electorate. Look, you have these forums. Let's have debates. Let the people ask the real questions. Listen, there's something going over in District 7. Can you answer what's going on? What are you going to do different than what the person that held office previously? What is your plan? Lay it out. We want to hear what you have to say. Tell us how you feel about Detroit City Council members not showing up for a very important meeting. Tell us how you feel about the what's going on with the Detroit Land Bank and how is
or the 375. 375. Are you going to take the project at 375 and give it to Gary Torgo and the Illiches and Tom Gore and see, MDOT already says the game has been fixed.
Right.
Yeah, they unfixed the game. Oh, you know what? We're so sorry what happened to Black Bottom and Paradise Valley. We're gonna change that. We're gonna get rid of 375, which went through all these businesses and neighborhoods. And who they gonna give it to? Yeah, the Illiches. All they damn want is a fucking parking lots over there. They lied about they was gonna make the District Detroit. They got empty buildings and shit. You go down 4th Street, you go down all these other places. Who's filling up these buildings? You know, who's moving into these places? Because every time something come empty, the first thing they say, we gotta have affordable housing. Who the fuck is moving into $3,000, $4,000 a month rent?
Exactly. Affordable is very subjective. But a couple of things that you've said previously. One, Detroit has a lot of land. We've had a whole lot of houses.
Before you go anywhere, let's take a break.
Okay.
And then we come back and we'll talk about this, and then I want to talk about the Grand Rapids before we get off the air. Let's take a break, Teresa.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in a home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
talk about the issues, and I say, and housing is an issue, education is an issue, police and fire, pensions, and pensions periods is an issue, and people knock me and dog me out and say, what you keep saying that the bill is going to be due. It is going to be due. We don't have anything to hawk anymore. I took it all to Siemens, and I sold it. I didn't
never get a chance to ask the candidates what is the plan when the bill is due. What is the plan? And you get these glossy stories about what's going on downtown. You and I, live downtown, so we see what's going on downtown. But I bet you something. Those people who vote in 48205 area code, listen, they don't see what's going on downtown. Okay, you have people who live on streets where there's only 2 houses on the block. What's the plan for all this land over here? What's the plan for building up the neighborhoods? What is your plan? And I don't want to hear nothing about, listen, these people are already holding office. We already know what you've done as a city council member. We want to know what you're going to do as mayor. And we need to be able to ask you those questions.
And I think, Vanessa, some of our viewers, our colleagues are talking about some of those issues. Do you want to cover a few of those?
Yeah.
Queen B said exactly 4820 something died. 2035 is the year. 4820 died. That's the zip code. She said that's right, Vanessa. Karen Winston said 2035 is the year that our pension fund dries up. She used to work for the city of Detroit. Eric said, let me find out. I don't know what that means. Dwayla says, hey, someone talked about DTE is the rage of the week, period. That's another question we need to ask them about. Listen, they're building all these solar panel neighborhoods. I call them neighborhoods, areas where you see all these DTE solar panels that's coming into the neighborhood. But you asking us to pay more money.
Yeah, DTE hijacked the public lighting here in the city. Duggan gave it to them. And listen, they gave them everything. So when Duggan became mayor, he had a clean slate, and and he did a good 12 years with balance the budget and shit. He has a windfall of money.
You could balance a budget when you come out of a bankruptcy.
Yeah, there's no question about it. People say they filed bankruptcy, and a week later, American Express sent them a credit card. So they don't have any debt. So yeah, this forum, Eric, I hope this is a forum that you let these candidates let it rip. Let them talk. Let them debate. This is open to everybody. It's not just a private event where you got to have a invitation only. That ain't no fucking debate. I don't know.
And somebody made a comment. The debate, the forum will be for city council and mayoral candidates. It'll be set up in 2 different components. But yeah, city council candidates will be invited as well. And one of the other things that I just find to be so disingenuous, I have always had a problem with the Mackinac Policy Conference. And for them to only be having a debate with only 5 of the candidates, that is a disservice to the other individuals.
But when you're in control of your own shit, Eric, they can do whatever the fuck they want to do. That's why you gotta have your own form. You gotta have your own this and your own that.
Well,
you all would be the moderators, as it would be live streamed using Detroit in Black and White. So the moderators will consist of you all. Detroit in Black and White. So
But you know what, Eric, I have and Adolph and Jim, I have to agree with Eric that I think it's downright disrespectful. And I've gone to Mackinac Island. You too, Adolph, and I'm sure you, Eric, have gone to Mackinac Island.
No, I've never gone because I don't agree with it.
I have.
Have you ever been there, Jim?
I have not.
Okay.
I have. It's very interesting. But here again, listen, you're going to have all those power players up there on Mackinac Island. Those are the people that really determine policy as to what happens in the city of Detroit. But the Detroiters are the one that votes for these people. But if you pay attention to the media, if you pay attention to the polls, it's really those people on Mackinac Island telling you who your mayor is going to be.
You should vote for it, right?
I want to go back.
Go ahead, Jim.
I want to go back to the poll, and I want to go back to Vanessa's statement on you shouldn't believe the polls. And maybe she didn't say that. I'm saying that. Maybe you shouldn't believe the polls. Maybe you shouldn't believe the Detroit Free Press or the Detroit News or the Metro Times or wherever you get your news, because it seems to me, and Sam is happy with Mr. Durhal, who we've had on our show, who's a very smart man, young man, aggressive, talented, and not Willie Burton, according to Whitney Clark. Doesn't like Whitney. Whitney Clark doesn't like Willie Burton. But what I was going to say is, it seems to me that even polls today are a form of propaganda, because I do not believe. Where did they take this poll? In the parking lot of the church? Because it doesn't happen.
They only asked 400 people, and if you've taken any type of quantitative or qualitative methodology courses, you have to get at least 1,000 people to have a legitimate poll. That 400 people in a city of 600,000, and who's to say they were all Detroiters? The narrative is they were all Detroiters, but who to say that they were all Detroiters?
It seems like it's a method to get the answer. It's like to
get an outcome you want.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well,
you know what? Different way. It's like they're in search of a candidate
to the city council. You can elect a ham sandwich to the city council, and I'm gonna end it on this. We got people that's sitting on commissions and whatever, that's 99 years old, getting 415 retirement checks, and ain't done a thing. I'm not gonna go that route.
But preacher Adolph, exactly. If you look at the people that have been certified to run for different offices, listen, there are some people that have not even been certified to run for office, so we don't even have candidates in some areas. And then you have some people, they're not even being challenged. They are not even being challenged.
We have a quote in the largest city in Michigan.
No accountability.
And we haven't had problems in the clerk's office, but hey, listen, well, you got to be able to run. And I guess people get frustrated and say, I'm not going to waste my time running. So wait till we have our forum and see how we do. Because we got people that watch us and say that we control the narrative, that we tell people what to do. No, I tell myself what I need to do. I can't tell you what to do, but encourage you to vote. Encourage you to participate, because here we got 2 districts, one of the poorest districts in America, 13th district, and you got an asshole congressman who does nothing but send out paper.
Oh my God!
He should be indicted for killing trees, but he'll kill dogs and cats and shit in his laboratories, and people that run against him don't say shit about that, but they attack each other. Yeah, Sri Canada, he spent $1 million promoting himself. And if I ever around him and he says he came here with $20 in his pocket, I'm going to slap the shit out of him. I'm going to get a case. I'm going to get a case. They put me out of the Corktown business meeting because all I asked the congressman was, why are you hanging out with that dictator from India who's using you? He killed Muslims there. They burnt down a mosque in India and then built a Hindu temple on it. You know, you see India and Pakistan is fighting each other. Pakistan gunmen went to Kashmir and killed 26 tourists. You know, it's a mess, and he was used as a pawn, and he couldn't answer the question, and I kept asking the question. Bob Roberts, our host on Saturdays, he's the president. He let me talk, but you should see all the other folks in there. They was cringing like, why is he messing with our congressman? The poorest fucking district in America, the second poorest, one is in New York, is the poorest, and they done nothing. He got 2 staffers. And Rashida staff said we overwhelmed because she represents a lot of immigrants, and she said people from the 13th is calling her office. Probably calling Debbie Dingle's office. That who represent downriver? Is Dingle downriver?
It is. Yes. Part of downriver and Shree represents part of downriver.
Yeah, but he
Debbie Dingle also represents
yes, she represents the southern section. But Shree represents Taylor and Lincoln Park and some of the other places.
Yeah, he represents that part.
I wanted to go back to Edward for just a second. First of all, Day, we all love you here on this show. You're welcome with us anytime. You know that. Everybody. And Edward Altman said that Adolph's a real Detroiter. Well, you should see Adolph down in Trenton. He acts like he owns the city. So, I mean, he was down here on a couple of things. And he's like a celebrity down here in Trenton, Edward. So
nah, you're the celebrity, Jeff. You walk into a place, gym money's no good.
Adolph is well known. He's almost a downriver guy nowadays.
Yeah, but
Jim almost had to be one of his neighbors up.
Yeah. Again, right? Why do we remember this stuff?
Right. So anyway, I agree with you. I was going to actually before the show, I had it. I don't know what I did with it, but I had this. I mean, it was about this big. Sri Thanadar. We're fighting to save Medicaid. I'm like, I can't believe you sent me this big old thing, and you sent this to everybody else. He has a billboard off of the lodge and one off of the I-75. What that tells me, and this is what it should tell those people who vote for him, is that he's spending more money, he's spending more time campaigning as opposed to working for the people that he represents. And how dare you get pissed off because somebody like Adolph, Vanessa, Eric, or Jim question you. That's your job to be questioned by us. It's called holding you accountable. So for people to cringe because you ask him a question, I got a problem with you guys. These people are not gods.
He spends all his money on sending out mail, and he gets franking privileges in Congress where he can mail. They give you thousands of dollars to mail to the residents of
your constituents,
and yet he taking another $1 million, and that's all he does is send paper. And the way it is, he's gonna win. He's gonna win again. Nobody runs against Rashida. They are the weakest. What's that show? The weakest link.
The weakest link.
Yes.
They're the weakest link in Congress.
And nobody. Well, you have 2 people that said they're running against
Shree,
and then
Donovan McKinney and Adam Collier.
And then I don't know who's running against Rashida Tlaib, but
Nobody.
Guess what? Why? And then you sit back and complain. This is a person, and I'm playing devil's advocate today. She's a Democrat, right?
No, she's an asshole.
I'm playing devil's advocate. She's a Democratic representative, right? What district is it? The
14.
14. No, not 14. 13.
13.
No, she's not with the 13.
No.
Okay, whatever it is. I got to
The
get
12.
it.
She's the
I
12.
thought that's what it was. I thought it was
That's
the 12.
right. Yeah.
But this last election, she said, you know what? To me, as a Democrat, y'all should feel really bad because she downright disrespected you. But guess what? Y'all gonna vote for her anyway, and you ain't gonna put nobody up against her to vote against her. I mean, to run against her. That's ridiculous. And then you want to sit back and complain. There's people on here saying that they don't like her because she's for Hamas. Edward Altman says, thank you, Jim. No disrespect to Vanessa or Eric. You are all my heroes. I love this show. Vanessa, get over it. Shri got elected because the media outlets, which includes Deadline Detroit, work to control the narrative. Listen, I'm not going to get over it.
I'm not disagreeing.
Or I disagree with you, or I'm not going to get over it.
No.
I'm not going to get over it. We have somebody on here saying that he's paying people bills. Listen, if your vote, if you can be tricked, then so be it. But I don't have to get over it, and I can talk about it, and I am talking about it.
Okay.
And we're not Deadline Detroit for everybody out there. We're not Deadline Detroit.
That's a separate entity.
Adolph and Allan go back to high school, but it's a different animal. And
we go back to junior high school.
Junior high school. Par Orgs had asked a question, Adolph, about some of the interviews. Well, we've been open to all the mayoral candidates come on the show, and we've had 3 or 4 of them on, right? 4, maybe 5.
Yeah.
And they're all welcome.
Yeah.
And there's are some that run from us.
We had an example of
you giving somebody a platform, and this is a friendly platform, not an ambush platform where we're gonna ambush you. If they don't want to come on, fuck them. You know, that's how I look at them. And
we had an example of a gentleman that was running for the U.S. Senate who had an avenue through this show, and we had him on the show, and then his handlers at some point decided that he should not come on the show anymore. And we know how that turned out, right?
Yes. There's no question. Yeah.
So
we tried to help.
Yeah, Par Org says, then explain why Lengel hasn't done any meaningful reporting on Mary. Ask Allan when he comes back on the show. Make sure you put that in the comment, because I don't work for Deadline Detroit. Adolph don't work for Deadline Detroit. I don't write for Deadline Detroit. Eric don't write for Deadline Detroit. Jim don't write for Deadline Detroit. We are not Deadline Detroit. We are Detroit in Black and White. He is a co-host on Detroit in Black and White, and Deadline Detroit is his thing. You asked him the question.
That's his baby. And you know what? Listen, he does what he does.
It's not bad. It's just I'm just trying to show separation, I think.
Yeah.
You can catch him on Fridays at the week that was.
Oh, yeah. Right. He can ask him on the week
that 11:30. That's his shining hour. So.
Somebody said Queen
B.
That was clear what Allan thinks. So Par Org, watch his show. It comes on Friday?
11:30 on Fridays.
Yeah.
Okay, before we let's move on.
Thanks, Queen B.
The Kent County prosecutor, that office got a tough decision to make on the former Grand Rapids police officer who they had a mistrial, and his attorney said that it was like 11-1 in favor of not guilty verdict. Really? I don't believe that. I think probably was whatever.
Well, initially it was 6-6.
Okay,
that seems about right to me.
Jim, I'm gonna go to our police guy here. Should they retry this?
I'm going to be brief.
Kent County prosecutor, would you retry this case?
I would not retry it. And Allan has been beating up on me and beating up on the police, and I understand. But here's where he's wrong, and where some of the viewers. I wish Ira was here tonight and he could talk about this too, but he's not here. He'll be on the show tomorrow. Here's where the training is paid off for that police officer, whether it's right, wrong. And I agree that half the people on that jury probably looked at it as a cold-blooded killing, and the other half looked at it like this kid was going to die if he didn't do anything, and he did exactly the right thing. So I'm not going to judge either one of those groups of people, right? Oh, but here's the challenge, and I told you on the phone the other day, Adolph. When people say he wasn't trained well, he was trained well enough to keep telling this young man to take his hand off his taser, because a taser is a deadly weapon. And I go back 30 years to these secondary items that, whether it was Rodney King, I was sitting, interestingly enough, in the Los Angeles Police Department. They have a bar at the police academy, right? It's unbelievable. And I was there on business talking to an LA city police officer. There was about 4 or 5 of us. Just shortly, it was in the early 90s, 93, 94, 95, just after the Rodney King. And he looked at me and he said, watch the tape. I want you to watch the tape this way. Watch what they did. They poked him with a stick and they stepped back. They poked him with, nobody sees all that. They were following Los Angeles City Police Department policy. And when this young man, whether you agree or not, it was a beatdown, right? This young man said over and over again, take your hand off my taser. Let go of my taser. It's going to be really hard to convict somebody that had their hands on a weapon of deadly force. And we can argue all day long whether we should have where police officers, not we, police officers should have. I remember police officers I worked with, you'd arrest a guy and they'd be dripping in pepper spray. It'd be from head to toe. It's like a cartoon. People had so much pepper spray on them, you had it all over you, right? When you give police officers too many options sometimes, I think it leads to this. And I think we should re-examine this taser issue. It looks like a gun. It feels like a gun. You pull a trigger like a gun. If this officer didn't have a taser, would he be in fear of his life? That's a question.
Vanessa, defense attorney.
Defense attorney. I mean, you either want a not guilty or mistrial. I don't think that they're going. I just don't believe it's going to be a retrial. I just don't. I really don't. And I'm not surprised. I said this Wednesday. I said I was not surprised when the jurors came back and said that they were deadlocked. I'm not surprised at all. So we'll see what happens.
Yes, he had his hand on the taser. They were fighting over the taser.
Right. Well, you know what? It's human nature. Somebody puts something in your face. I don't care if you're not a cop or you're gonna put your hand up. Yeah. You putting your hand up. Somebody got a knife. You put your hand up. Somebody got a gun. You trying to take it. If you wrestling with somebody. So I'm not surprised that the young man grabbed the taser, saying don't, and the cop saying take your hands off the taser. Yeah, I don't. Politics.
That's where training came in. He did exactly what he was supposed to do. Take your hands off the deadly weapon you can kill the police officer with, and that's a big hill to climb for
Eric,
for prosecution.
I mean, the initial vote was 6. The initial vote was 6-6. Now, if it was 11-1, like his attorney said, then I don't see why they will retry it, but I think they will just because of the pressure from the community. But I tell people all the time, I had a conversation with someone today, research qualified immunity, you will understand why these cops keep getting off. Just like the cops in Memphis. You brought in an all-white jury from Chattanooga to try a case, and those jurors probably felt that the officers were right to beat down the guy, even though he did nothing other than the initial traffic stop. And again, qualified immunity is why these cops keep getting off. The situation with George Floyd, that was a little bit different. Our lying eyes did not deceive us. That was a massacre.
But
that was a lynching.
You still got people saying, let him, let the cop go. You know, George Floyd was a drug addict.
You do.
George Floyd family had disowned George Floyd, and he got them a payday. This is the narrative that people say they made George Floyd a hero. But what I saw was a man that took his last breath before the world and said he couldn't breathe. And who was the last person he asked for? His mother.
His mother?
Yeah. So I
in Memphis, he was calling, you know.
I don't know how you justify letting this guy out now. You know, now the other guys that was under the officer's control, you know, he told them they were just following orders. Should they been punished, Jim?
I'm sorry. The question is what? I didn't.
You just read those flattering comments.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking about in Minneapolis where the other two cops that got punished for standing there watching.
Here's the unfortunate part about those two young men. They were. I'm not making excuses for them. They were relatively brand new officers, and it was the veteran officer that decided that George Floyd was going to die. It wasn't them, and it's unfortunate. They shouldn't be wearing a uniform. I'm not sure that they should be. There's a duty to act now, and I think I don't know if it's a federal law, but it's most police departments, most accredited departments have a duty to act if somebody's doing an unlawful act against, you know.
Isn't that mutiny?
Well, it used to be. 30, 40 years ago, you'd stand by the side, but I don't think so. If you're going to go to jail, you better grab a guy. I grabbed a guy once. I was in a chase one time, and a guy gave up. Well, Jim runs his 40-yard dash in about 2.5 minutes. A guy gave up on me in the backyard. As soon as I got the guy, put him in handcuffs, brought him out. We jumped the fence, and a guy decked him. I was so mad. It's just, you know, I was angry. I grabbed the cop and threw the cop. It's like, this guy gave up, all right? Yeah, he tried to get away, but he gave up. You don't do that kind of stuff, all right? You don't. And when I say decked him, I guess he just shoved him or whatever. But I was not happy with that, right? It happened before I had an opportunity to react. But there's a lot of good police officers out there that would stop that action. Unfortunately, in Minneapolis, they were rookie police officers, and I think they were confused. And you know,
what if you got Denzel Washington character as a partner in Training Day? And, you know, we look at the police, and then we look at movies and TV shows and stuff, and they give us on one side the blue bloods where they can do no wrong. You know, everybody gonna be commissioner from the grandpa.
I'll just say this. I'll say this, and then I'll stop, and I'll let Vanessa comment, because Vanessa's been involved in the legal system for a long time, a couple years.
Right.
There's this word. It's a 4-letter word that everybody experiences, whether they're doctors, lawyers, Indian chiefs, right? It's fear, right? And a police officer that's in fear probably reacts different to it. It's clear that the officer up in Grand Rapids was scared, right? I'm not knocking him for that. We need to understand how fear affects human beings, regardless of what they're doing out there. And
so
we don't.
Shoot somebody in the head, in the back. Yeah, well, you know.
I'm not making excuses for anybody. I'm just telling you that fear affects everybody differently. And there's police officers that are out there that are in fear, and they live in fear when they have.
And you see it, in the military, where you got folks that run from fighting. They get out there and they freeze, and you know, or even training. You put a weapon in their hand and they freeze. It's like, oh, I can't do that. Why the fuck are you here then? You know,
because the training, Jim. Correct me if I'm wrong. The training only deal with simulations, right? It's not like it's real life situations that, you know.
Until the incident happens, until you're involved in a shooting for the first time, you've never been involved in a shooting before. Until you're involved in a fight where someone's trying to take your firearm, or whatever they're trying to take. You've never done it before. It only happens out there in the real world, and it's tragic what happened. It's tragic whenever we lose a life, regardless of how it's lost, and I'll continue to say that.
Yeah,
But to Karen's point, and I think that yes, it was a traffic violation, but it escalated to more than that. Again, not making any excuses, but it escalated. And like I told you all on Wednesday, I've moderated a police panel before with officers from Southfield, Detroit, Wayne County Sheriff, Oakland County Sheriff, as well as the City of Detroit Chief and state police. And a common thread is about complying. And I think there comes a time where we have to look at situations. And I know the assailant, myself, in the heat of the moment, it's hard to comply. So it's kind of a double-edged sword when it comes to one complying as well as one de-escalating the situation, which should be the job of the police. But in the heat of the moment, fear impacts both individuals.
Well, you know what? Bottom line, some cops have lost their life because they made the wrong decision, just like that, and they end up dead. So if you got to walk in somebody's shoes and say, well, if he's fearing for his life, I think he was scared at that point. When somebody grab it, you got a taser, and this guy can take it from you. What is he gonna do? Don't shoot you with it, I guess.
And he gotta live with that for the rest of his life.
Yeah. So I don't think they're gonna retry it, but they're gonna have some community issues because those folks up in Grand Rapids are pissed.
Yes, they are.
They're mad as hell, and plus my man from here, Vin Johnson, he goes up there and he's throwing fire bombs up there too. So I think the Kent County prosecutor lose either way. If he decide to try it again, they're going to try to cut a deal. And I'm not an attorney. And they're going to say, hey, 2 years, whatever. I don't know. You're an expert on that, Vanessa. Or we're not going to do it.
Look, I don't think so. I really don't think so. Listen, they're going to look at the transcript. They're going to look at what happened in the trial, what was said, what wasn't said, and then they're going to make a decision. I think what I agree with you, they probably will say, hey, listen, and trust me, before they even got to this trial, there was some discussion about resolving this matter. And he was like, no, I'm going to trial. I'm sure of that.
Well, you look at the area.
Because it's a mistrial, we'll see what happens. Of course, the defense wants, look, we don't want another trial, okay? And we'll see what happens, but I just don't see it. But I could be wrong.
You don't think they're doing?
I think he'll have his job back. I think he'll have his job back.
You don't think they'll do another trial?
I don't. I really don't.
And I think he's gonna get back on the force. I think they're gonna have to reinstate him.
I think there's a good chance of that. I want to say Par Orgs is absolutely right. This is the only challenge there, Par. He was in a fight before he knew he was in a fight, and he was afraid as the fight's going on. He wasn't afraid when he was standing there yelling at the guy. He was demanding for the Mr. Leola to do this, that, and the other thing. He wasn't afraid at that point. He wasn't afraid until later in the situation. And that's unfortunate, because if he'd have just let him run away and said, I see you, I got your car, I'll see you in about 3 days, it would have been a whole different outcome. Absolutely.
Is he going to get reinstated?
I would not be surprised if he is reinstated to the police department.
I wouldn't either. He'll be right back doing what he's doing. Yeah, this has been interesting. American Pope, mayoral forum that we're going to have. I want to hear from more city council people. And we got the governor's race taking place. That's very interesting, Vanessa.
So you mentioned the governor's race, and you also mentioned the mayor's race. I think it's interesting, and I think people should pay attention to those mayoral candidates and what kind of relationship they have with the candidates that's running for governor.
No, well, I don't. Well, listen, everybody for themselves, and and we got the Gretchen Whitmer team. They all running for something. Haley Stevens want to be a senator. We already got Alicia Slockins. Who else? What's Jocelyn Benson wants to be governor? What do Dana Nelson want to be? God, something. Well, anyway, Eric, your final thoughts.
Well, you guys are going to have a good show tomorrow with Keisha Brooks, Mark DeAndre, Ira Todd. I'm sure it's going to be a good show. Particularly, I'm sure Ira Todd has a lot to say, and was very involved in has a lot to say regarding that situation in Eastland last weekend. So I will definitely be going back.
And we asked him about the rash of shootings that's taking place. People just
it was another shooting today.
Yep.
There's no
on
question.
the west side.
Jim, your final thought.
Thanks, Karen. Good point. And Deborah had a question about police officers running, but after 10 or 15 years of Burger King and McDonald's and Taco Bell and
Dunkin' Donuts,
Donuts, right?
32-ounce big gulps. The police officers aren't in the shape they should be. This officer was about a 7-year veteran, and not some police academies, they run their recruits, and some don't run at all. So
and some of these cops in Detroit look a mess, unsat, fat. All they do is carry styrofoam stuff with food. They could only shoot you in the back because
go easy. I may have been there at some point in my life.
Yeah,
so
I don't think so, Jim. You've been retired and you look good. You can put a uniform on. Some of these folks, they grease all on their shit and stuff. They look a mess. They got to do something. And then I look at the cops that's around Todd Bedison, polished, in shape, professional. I think he brought something to the chief's office. That's my guy. He comes on here. He wants to continue to come on there. But some of the rank and file, listen, the Marine Corps kicked their ass out, saying that's a disgrace to the fucking uniform, the way you look. Vanessa, your final thoughts.
My final thoughts. Listen, I want to tell everybody that has been today, thank you very much. To all those people that are watching us on YouTube as well as Facebook, we love it. We want you to continue to watch, like, subscribe, and share. Tell all your friends about Detroit in Black and White. We will see you again tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. We'll be live. If you want to come down, you can come down and participate. Just don't walk up on us. Just don't walk up on us. All right.
You like Jason Rowe. He walks in there straight and then he leaves with a Bloody Mary. He loves the change. But anyway, thanks everybody. This is Detroit in Black and White. Be here tomorrow. Teresa, thank you. Teresa is the wizard.
And they're all our heroes. All our colleagues out there are our heroes. We're not their heroes. So.
And for those,
hero, and
listen, for those, we're gonna say it one more time. Ask Allan about Deadline Detroit. This is not Deadline Detroit. We listen. We love Deadline Detroit. We like Deadline Detroit, but this is Detroit in Black and White. So don't mix up the two. See you tomorrow.